There is a specific kind of silence inside Windsor Castle that signals a catastrophic collapse of royal authority. It is not the quiet of respect. It is the suffocating, motionless air that takes over a room right before a dynastic crisis explodes. 6 high-resolution photographs landed directly on Prince William's desk. He did not yell. He did not call for his private secretaries with dramatic urgency. He sat back in his chair, stared at the images, and went completely silent. If you understand anything about the cold mechanics of the British monarchy, you know that silence from the heir to the throne is far more dangerous than any shouting match behind closed doors. Spread across his desk were 6 clear photographs, 1 gold-embossed invitation, a guest list featuring 42 influential VIPs, and a tiny unauthorized royal crest sitting directly above the name of Laura Lopes. For anyone needing a quick refresher, Laura Lopes is Queen Camilla's daughter from her first marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles. She holds no official royal titles, receives no public funding, and has 0 constitutional standing inside the sovereign's household. Yet, someone inside her immediate orbit had decided to defy a direct command from the palace, slap a sacred royal crown onto a private invitation, and attempt to hijack the visual power of the British monarchy for a private commercial art reception. What followed over the next 6 hours inside Windsor Castle was not a simple family disagreement. It was an unprecedented power struggle between Prince William, Queen Camilla, and King Charles III. A hidden war involving missing government documents, smuggled priceless artwork, forged authorizations, and a secret scheme designed to build an unofficial royal dynasty right under the public's nose. The forbidden gold crown. To understand why this turned into an immediate emergency inside the palace walls, you have to rewind 36 hours before those photographs landed on William's desk. At shortly after 7 in the morning, an official email was sent from the Lord Chamberlain's office directly to Laura Lopes's team. The tone was polite, but the instructions were absolute. Laura had been organizing a private art gathering, and the palace laid down the law. The event was strictly forbidden from taking place inside the prestigious East Terrace rooms at Windsor Castle. No royal insignia, crest, or crown could appear on any printed promotional material. No commercial sponsors were permitted, and no private photographers were allowed inside the gates. The instruction was final. It was not a baseline for negotiation. The palace servers logged an official read receipt confirming the email had been opened by Laura's office. Yet, hours passed and nobody sent a reply. That silence raised immediate red flags among senior royal aides. But what happened 24 hours later transformed an administrative irritation into a full-blown security threat. At 8 in the morning, 2 heavy delivery vans rolled up to the secure service entrance at Windsor Castle. They were loaded with high-end lighting rigs, custom champagne display walls, massive floral arrangements, and luxurious gift bags. Crucially, neither driver possessed the mandatory visitor security clearance. However, the official transport paperwork attached to the dashboard carried a specific phrase: private family delivery for the Queen. That single phrase bypassed standard palace protocols. Security guards waved the first vehicle straight through the heavy gates, but the second driver was stopped purely by a fluke. As the vehicle bumped over a security grate, a heavy cardboard box split open in the back. Inside that broken box lay hundreds of luxurious invitations printed on heavy cream cardstock with raised lettering and thick gold foil edges. Resting directly above Laura Lopes's name was a detailed, gold-embossed royal crown, the exact symbol she had been explicitly banned from using. Resting directly beneath her name were 5 words that made the security guard's blood run cold: by gracious royal permission. There was just one massive problem. No such permission existed. No approval had been granted by Prince William, the Lord Chamberlain, or the King's private secretary. Yet, 42 of the most powerful people in the country, wealthy art collectors, gallery moguls, and former cabinet ministers, had been formally told that the King of England was endorsing this private venture, the vanishing document. When Prince William was briefed on the delivery at 8:17 a.m., he immediately ordered the event to be shut down, the vehicles impounded, and the East Terrace rooms locked. That should have been the end of the story. Instead, the crisis deepened. Unbeknownst to castle security, Laura Lopes was already inside Windsor Castle. She had entered through a quiet, private family access point, carrying a thick blue folder. She was flanked by 3 associates who were not on any uproar. When informed that the Queen was requesting an urgent family conversation, Prince William sent back a cold, unyielding response. This is no longer a family matter. When Camilla arrived, she was brimming with rage, not because an unauthorized event was being shut down, but because palace security had dared to question her daughter. "My daughter is not a criminal," Camilla reportedly snapped as she walked into the meeting room. Prince William remained totally impassive. "Then she should have no difficulty explaining the missing document," he replied. Camilla stood her ground, insisting there was no secret authorization sheet, and that the entire situation was an embarrassing misunderstanding cooked up by overzealous staff. William didn't argue. He simply slid a signed security statement across the polished wooden table. A veteran staff member had read the paper. 2 security officers had discussed it. Laura had used it to pass a guarded checkpoint, and now it had magically vanished. Camilla read the statement twice, set it down, and delivered a line that turned William's suspicion into absolute fury. "Perhaps your staff misread it. Your staff. Not the king's staff. Not palace staff. Your staff." William leaned across the table. "These people serve the crown." Camilla locked eyes with the future king and delivered 3 words that chilled the entire room. "For now, yes." That was the moment the mask slipped. This was no longer about gold invitations or an art reception. It was a raw, open war over authority, dynamic control, and who would hold power in the next reign. The 12th masterpiece. Determined to uncover the real reason behind this unauthorized gathering, Prince William walked down to the East Terrace rooms, where workers were actively dismantling the event staging. Laura Lopes was standing near the fireplace, speaking quietly with an event organizer. On a velvet-covered table behind her stood 12 framed paintings. 11 of those paintings were beautiful, highly valuable pieces belonging to private galleries and wealthy lenders. But the 12th painting made Prince William stop in his tracks. It was a breathtaking, museum-quality masterpiece. Attached to its ornate frame was a label that read, "Private Royal Collection." The Royal Collection is not personal property. It is a sacred national trust held by the monarch for the country. Paintings worth tens of millions of dollars cannot be casually removed from storage, loaded into an unauthorized van, and hung up at a private family party. Every movement requires strict conservation logging, specialized insurance, and armed security detail. This painting had 0 movement records. When pressed, Laura claimed she had no idea how the painting got there. The event organizer claimed it arrived hidden inside the Queen's official deliveries. The Queen's household denied transporting it. Then Prince William noticed something even more sinister. Tucked behind the frame was a small, neon orange tag. It wasn't an inventory or museum tag. It was a professional valuation tag from a high-end auction house. Someone wasn't just displaying this masterpiece. They were actively determining its market price. William didn't raise his voice. He turned to the security detail and issued a strict command. "Lock every door. Nobody leaves this room, nobody uses a phone, and nobody touches a file until we find out who brought this painting here." Laura looked visibly shaken. "You can't hold people here. This is a family event." William looked around the room. This stopped being a family event the second someone put a crown on that invitation. Cornered, Laura played her final card. She looked William dead in the eye and claimed the painting no longer belonged to the royal collection at all. She claimed it had been given as a private gift to her mother, Queen Camilla. "Given by whom?" William asked. Laura hesitated, and that brief moment of silence gave him the answer before she even spoke. "By the king." The hidden initiative. The entire room shifted on its axis. If King Charles had legally gifted a priceless piece of national heritage to his wife, Laura was legally clear to display her mother's private art. If he hadn't, someone was actively using the king's name to move millions of dollars in royal assets into private hands. William dispatched a secure, high-priority summons for his father to come to the East Terrace rooms immediately. Camilla tried desperately to block it, arguing the king was under immense health stress and dismissing the painting as a trivial matter. William ignored her entirely. As they waited, Camilla fell completely silent, shooting a nervous glance at Laura. Laura's eyes darted toward her blue folder, the same folder that had held the vanishing authorization sheet. William didn't ask for permission. He stepped forward, picked up the blue folder, and dumped its entire contents onto the table. Caterers' invoices, guest biographies, seating charts, and floor plans scattered across the wood. Still, the missing authorization sheet was nowhere to be seen. But as William lifted the empty folder, he felt an unnatural weight in the spine. He ripped open a hidden inner compartment and pulled out a thick, bound draft document. Across the cover page were 6 bold words: "The Queen's Family Cultural Initiative." As William scanned the pages, the horrifying truth finally clicked into place. This was not a one-off art show. It was a master plan for a parallel royal household. The proposal outlined an ongoing, recurring program of private, high-society cultural events hosted inside royal residences. These events were designed to feature Camilla's children and relatives, funded by corporate sponsors and wealthy international patrons. Laura's reception at Windsor was explicitly listed as the official launch party. The gold crown on the invitation was not a mistake. It was brand building. Someone was systematically building a private commercial operation inside the monarchy, a backdoor system that would generate massive influence, social capital, and financial ties for Camilla's non-royal family. Once billionaire patrons became financially invested in this initiative, it would become nearly impossible for Prince William to shut it down when he eventually inherited the throne. The King's red dispatch box. Shortly after midday, King Charles arrived with zero fanfare, carrying a battered leather dispatch box. He took one look at the chaos, glanced at the priceless painting leaning against the wall, and his face visibly fell. He recognized the artwork instantly. Prince William didn't waste time on pleasantries. "Did you legally gift this painting to Camilla?" King Charles looked at his son, then at his wife, and uttered one devastating word: "No." Laura whipped her head around to stare at her mother. Camilla kept her jaw set and said nothing. Charles opened his dispatch box and pulled out a confidential legal document signed just 3 weeks earlier. The painting in question, along with several other historical assets, had been officially designated to be placed into a binding family trust. The sole beneficiaries of that trust were Prince William's 3 children: Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. Now, the presence of the property lawyer on Laura's guest list made terrifying sense. If that painting had been displayed publicly under Camilla's name at a Windsor event, surrounded by wealthy art dealers, it would establish a public record of control. It would create just enough legal ambiguity for lawyers to challenge the trust, tie the asset up in court, and delay the transfer of property to William's children for years. "Did you know about this?" William asked Laura directly. Laura stammered that she was explicitly told the painting belonged to her mother. "Who told you that?" William demanded. Laura dropped her head and refused to speak. In a desperate bid to regain control, Queen Camilla stepped forward and denied any attempt to steal royal property. She claimed Charles had promised her the landscape painting years ago in private. Charles looked at her, searching his memory for a casual conversation that had suddenly morphed into an international legal incident. Then, Camilla reached into her handbag, pulled out a faded, yellowed piece of paper, and slapped it onto the table. It was an old, handwritten birthday note from Charles. At the bottom, in his unmistakable handwriting, was a single sentence: "One day, the little landscape will be yours." The betrayal from within. There it was. A casual, affectionate promise, written on a birthday card decades ago, being weaponized to strip a priceless national asset out of a trust built for the future king's children. Charles took the delicate note from Camilla's hand, set it next to the binding trust document, and looked at the property lawyer who had been brought in from the guest list. The lawyer's assessment was swift and blunt. A sentimental birthday note carries zero legal weight against a signed, formal trust. The painting belonged to the crown, held for Prince George. Yet, one massive question remained unanswered. Who forged the official authorization document that allowed Laura's team to bypass palace security? Charles ordered an immediate, comprehensive internal audit. Every computer log, printer queue, and sent folder across the palace network was scrutinized. At 2:46 p.m., a terrified junior aide uncovered the source. The authorization note had been printed from an office terminal inside Queen Camilla's private départ.